Hello, BookTube. I've got some mail for you today on a lovely Monday. The middle of the day is promised to be genuinely warm in the 80s. And it's also humid. We were supposed to... The situation was supposed to be that a humid air mass was pushed into New England, accompanied by thunderstorms, and that when the whole thing pushes out, the thunderstorms would be gone, and so would the humidity, and so would the heat. And it looks to me, of course, the pattern in New England is that when that pattern is in the offing, we get everything else, but we don't get the rain. We absolutely don't get the rain. And it looks like that might happen. It looks like this is the last day that will be in the 80s for quite some time. So that doesn't matter because it's nowhere near the 120s, and it's lovely. It's just lovely. Like many Mondays lately, the work week started for me. I came back online first thing in the morning on Monday to a lot of work. To a lot of people wanting to pay me to write. That has kind of been the theme, not only for the summer just in general, but especially for August. Well, what's going on there? I am, 570 years old, but still, I guess I still produce the goods. And that's nice in a way, but when that happens first thing on a Monday morning, as soon as I turn my computer off at night. I don't turn just myself off. I turn myself off. I turn into a pumpkin and just read all night long. But on the advice of my tech specialist, I also turn my laptop completely off. I don't just close it. I turn it off all night long and then turn it on again in the morning and log back on. And when I do that, I expect the world to bombard me. I'm going to have to look at the overnight emails. There'll be a lot of them. I have to look at the state of the world, see if they bomb Chicago. And I also check the new emails for business stuff, and there's quite a bit of that. So when that happens, you have to rearrange things, not just your day, but okay, if you follow the freelancer dictum of never say no, well then what are you going to do? How are you going to accommodate all of this? And what are you going to prioritize? So that was good. It was very good. It was a whole night of very, very good reading. Oh my. One bit of reading that I did last night almost commandeered the rest. Fittingly enough, I suppose, considering the book. I recently got a mass market paperback of John Toland's big biography of Hitler. I know there are more scholarly and more critically responsive biographies of Hitler. I have read them. I've reviewed a lot of them. But I like the Toland one more than I do any other. I know I probably shouldn't. I know there are far more critically acclaimed biographies, but I like his more. And that mass market paperback held up. I wasn't planning on reading the whole thing last night. It's huge. It's 1,500 pages long. And I didn't read the whole thing. But I got caught up. I read a lot more of it than I was expecting to. It started to elbow out, elbow room out, Lebensraum out. Some of the other things that were on my pile, I had to force it under control. And I did. And that was great. And the other reading last night was a great reading night. Just fantastic. And I'm counting on today being a great reading day as well, although the place is a mess. There are piles of books everywhere, which I don't like. There are empty bookcases at loggerheads everywhere. Christopher Russell, when he was here visiting, he's now gone to do missionary work in Moravia. Or is it the missionary position in Moravia? I'm not really sure. But either way, I'm sure he'll be excellent, no matter what. But when he was here, we installed a couple of new bookcases. And that involved moving around a few old bookcases, and it looked just fine, as it tends to do when you do that kind of work in a house. And then we had fun for the rest of the week, and then he left, and a few days passed, and I was wandering around, feeling sorry for myself, and noticed, and then you start to think, oh no, I don't know if I like this the way it is. Maybe I don't like this the way it is. Which has led to chaos, and that's not good. That's absolutely not good. Because this kind of thing, pulling hundreds and hundreds of books off shelves, putting them on the floor, moving those bookcases around, trying things out for size, measuring spaces and whatnot, that's best done with a guest. A bookish guest. That's best not done alone. Especially if you're a frail, old shut-in. So I have largely stopped that. I'm going to let that go. Even though it means me living in a war zone, I'm going to largely let that go until I have a guest, if I ever have a guest again. It would be ideal if the guest had delts and traps, so they could do quite a bit of the heavy lifting. but what kind of bookish person has dealt some traps? I don't know. Anyway, we got some mail to look at, and we'll start off not so much with a book package as with an insult. Nothing better than starting off a mail haul with an insult, right? Just look at that. That is our first package. Now, ordinarily, in the past, in the olden days, when I got something this small, I assumed it was a book catalog. But publishers don't send out print catalogs anymore. And thank God they don't. It's much easier to do an electronic catalog. So the only other candidate this could be is a slim volume of poetry. And once upon a time, those froze me blood. But I've now got a poetry guy for Open Letters Monthly. Or Open Letters Review, sorry. I've got a poetry guy. So your slim volumes of poetry don't intimidate me anymore. I wait until there's a pile of them, and I ship them off to him. And he writes great stuff. He's a really good poetry critic. Okay, so what is this? Is it a slim volume of poetry? Yeah, it is. A very slim volume of poetry. Look at that. What is this? It's 50 pages, 60 pages long. It's 60 pages long. Okay, well, what have we got here? This comes out in September, so I better get a move on sending this. This is by Billy Ray Belcourt, and is called The Idea of an Entire Life. Fairly pretty little thing. It's a chapbook. I believe you poetry people would call this a chapbook. Of course, there are many, many pages with no poetry on them. Prose is not poetry, and poetry is not prose. Sorry, I know we didn't get Poetry Thursday far enough for me to make that point every single week, but words have definitions. Prose is not poetry. So are any of these poems? Well, that's a poem. Okay, so who is Billy Ray Belcourt? Is from the Driftpile Cree Nation in northwest Alberta, Canada. He's author of 6 books, and he's won the Griffin Poetry Prize for his debut collection, This Wound is a World. Wow, so he won a prize for his debut collection. That's incredible. And it's twice been nominated for the Lambda Literary Award and the Governor-General's Literary Award. He serves as the Canada Research Chair in Queer Indigenous Cultural Production. So these are going to be gay poems? I don't know. Well, it doesn't matter. I have a little pile of slim volumes of poetry going. I will add this to that pile, and because it's a September thing, I will get the pile out to my poetry guy as fast as I can. So let's move on to this next one. It's much bigger. So this won't be a slim volume of poetry. I doubt very much. There are in 2025, in the rest of 2025, there are, in addition to biographies, 2 fairly major collections of poetry that are very mainstream. And I mean to send those to my poetry guy. I should also see if he's interested in writing reviews of biographies of poets. But in the meantime... Oh, great. Oh, fantastic. Oh, aren't you pretty? Oh, goodness gracious. You are beautiful. Oh, wonderful. Okay, this is the paperback. I very seldom get paperbacks. This is the paperback of Playground by Richard Powers. Lovely thing there. This is not a die-cut cover. This is just inside the cover, but it doesn't. It's not 2 layers. Instead, the inside layer is all blurbs, including a long excerpt from Ron Charles's review in the Washington Post. But who else is blurbed in here? Alexander Jacobs in the book review. Hamilton Kane in the Boston Globe. Wendy Smith in the National Book Review. Jonathan Miles in Garden and Gun. I didn't know Garden and Gun had a book review section. That's wild. Emma Donoghue, Personal Evidence. The Nashville Scene. Oh, and great, we also Open Letters. Tom LeClaire got a review. I'll have to tell him that. I'll have to mention that to him. I don't know that he cares, but that's wonderful. Okay, so what have we got here? I'm sure we saw this when it first came out. This book captures the beauty and loss of the ocean, showcasing the author at the height of his skills. The novel follows 4 lives: a marine biologist, an artist, a school teacher, and an AI pioneer that ultimately intersect on the island of French Polynesia. And a lot of critics said that this was very similar to his book on forests. only for the ocean. So I'm delighted to have the trade paperback here. That's fantastic. I'm a little bit distracted because of one of those blurbs. One of those blurbs bothered me. I'm very glad to see an Open Letters review, especially an Open Letters review blurb that isn't me. But one of those blurbs bothered me. Which one bothered me? I glanced at it. I don't even know if I read it to you, but it bothered me. Oh yeah, Garden and Gun. I didn't know what that venue is. Do they do book reviews? I didn't know that. And Ron Charles is also on the cover. Prepare to be awed. Not ODD, but OAWE. Let's see. All right, great. The paperback of Playground. That's well worth a reread. Well worth it. So let's move on to this next one. Finished copy of something. Let's see here. Okay. All right. It's a finished copy of a very, very difficult book. We've already seen the advanced copy of this. This is the finished copy that comes out in September, I assume. Yeah, September. This is by Hussein Agha and Robert Malley, and it's called Tomorrow is Yesterday. Life, Death, and the Pursuit of Peace in Israel/Palestine. Let's take a look here. The authors have been involved in Israel-Palestinian peace negotiations, Agha on the Palestinian side and Malley for the United States, going back to the 1990s. Malley most recently served as special envoy for Iran in the Biden administration. Agha was affiliated with St. Anthony's College at the University of Oxford for 25 years, and the two have co-written much-discussed assessments of the field for a wide range of publications. In this book, they draw on their personal experiences and insights, both as experts in the field and as participants in many of the discussions that they write about, to present a history of the Israel/Palestine peace negotiations spanning from the Oslo Accords to the present day. Among those topics, they question the viability of a two-state solution. The viability of a two-state solution, provide a frank look at the ineffectiveness of the United States as a mediator in the conflict, and place the events of and following October 7th in their full context. Okay. Yeah, it sounds like you're putting the events of October 7th in their full context. It sounds like that's what you're doing. Both a retrospective narrative that traces the efforts toward peace over the past 3 decades, those efforts are irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. They are completely irrelevant. Oh, God help us. God help us. There was once a grove of beautiful, iridescent fungus. It was waist high, and it was lovely. It was iridescent because it glowed in certain weather conditions in a way that was just beautiful to look at. And that was in the main continent of the uplands of the main continent of Venus, before Venus became a hellscape that has no life on it at all. Once upon a time, Venus was a blue ocean world, before its climate acceleration went out of control. And when it was a blue ocean world, in addition to all of its volcanoes that were active, there were lovely fungus fields, just beautiful things. And we really should write about them. We should write about some way to preserve them. Okay. This book provides essential grounding for understanding the stance of both Palestinians and Israelis over the decades, and the historical roots and emotional stakes of the conflict and the personalities involved in negotiation. There is no negotiation and there is no conflict anymore. The Netanyahu government is going to wipe out any group of Palestinians anywhere within its territorial reach. They are going to destroy everything that's left of Palestinian-occupied Gaza, and then they are going to move on. They are already moving on to every other Palestinian enclave. Nothing is going to stop them. There's only one thing in the world that can stop them, and that thing is the United States, and the United States is not going to do it. So we are not talking about a two-state solution anymore. We're not talking about the Israeli-Palestine conflict anymore. We're not talking about any of that anymore. This entire thing is completely irrelevant. Two-state solution. What's your state going to be? The shattered lunarscape that used to be your streets and cities? Anyway, ultimately, this candid, informative, and unique history shows us how we got where we are today and what might lie ahead. The West Bank in rubble. That is what lies ahead. That is what lies ahead. Unless the United States and the rest of the world take the obvious approach the obvious approach: boycott, disinvest, and sanction. Make the Netanyahu government a pariah state. If the United States alone, but if the rest of the world did that, all of this would stop. Nothing like what the authors describe in that pub sheet would happen as a result. There isn't going to be a Palestinian state at all. There isn't going to be a Palestinian state. By this time next year, there will be half the number of Palestinians alive on Earth as there were now. You don't make a state with 500,000 people. You don't do that. Resettlement, maybe. They're certainly never going to live in the land that they're being bombed out of. That's never going to happen. Even with a divestment campaign on the part of the world, and that divestment campaign is obviously not going to happen. This genocide is being live streamed, as everyone says. It's being live streamed. The rest of the world can see it. And yet, plenty of people do business with Israel. Plenty of them do. So, I'm sure this will not be the only book like this that I encounter in the next year. The only book like this that is just a downright anachronism. I have no idea how to review such a thing. None at all. Maybe I will think more about it, in September, which is not that far off, and see if maybe a review is possible. I don't know. I can't see it, but maybe. Anyway, a blast from the past. Tomorrow is yesterday. The entire basis of the game has changed. The entire discussion has completely changed. Israel is exterminating Palestinians with the open and expressed goal on the part of everyone in the Netanyahu administration to get them all. This is not a question of avenging October 7th. This is not a question of rescuing living hostages. This is a question of killing every Palestinian within the reach of Israel, and that's all of them. The entire subject has completely changed. I have no idea what to do anymore when I encounter the phrase two-state solution. I don't even know what to do about that. That is just insane. That is just insane. That's like someone arguing in a book published by Putnam's in Washington about the two-state solution during the Trail of Tears. It's so fundamental. I realize the book was in galleys a long time ago. It was written longer than that, but it was clearly written after October 7th. So what accounts for this? I don't know. I don't know. I'll read the book, and we'll see. Maybe the book will show me the way to review it. And then we have the final thing here. Sorry about that. It's just maddening. It's just maddening. Discussions like that, the only thing they do is blunt the common, universally held awareness of what is actually happening. What is actually happening is not a setback to a two-state solution. It's the greatest war crime since World War II. And when you talk about this two-state solution and, recognizing sovereignty and we've got to be at the bargaining table and dealing with each other in good faith, you are talking about a vanished world. You're talking about a world that doesn't exist anymore. And when you talk about that world, plenty of people who don't like the world as it is now are going to think, oh, that world does exist. So I don't have to worry about 1,000 people dying every week. I don't have to worry about that because it's not happening. Sooner or later, we'll get back on track for a two-state solution. Anyway, sorry. I will shut up now on that subject, and we will move to the box, which does not seem like it comes from a publisher. So it might come from one of you. So maybe this is library tribute, which would be great, because the summer is ending. All of the BookTube events for the summer are ending. And another thing that's ending this summer is a little innovation that I tried in 2025, the library book sale from hell. The library book sale of the damned. Where you still go to your precious library book sales with their fun tables and their volunteers taking money, but you're not shopping for yourself anymore, you're shopping for me. And you're getting me whatever I want. And you're buying it and you're sending it to me. And I set a stipulation that was only for the summer. So that's coming to an end too. I know, it's bitter. So what have we got here? Oh! Oh no! Oh no! Is this from J. Scott Phillips? It is! Oh no! Okay. J. Scott Phillips sent me some books that were doubles from his own library. I'm feeling a tiny bit of guilt here. And two of the books were two of the Ballantine volumes, the great illustrated Ballantine paperbacks of the collected Conan of Robert E. Howard. He sent me The Coming of Conan and The Bloody Crown of Conan. And that trilogy of books is incredibly worth your time. It's amazingly good. Perfectly editorially curated and also lavishly illustrated. But he did not send me the third book. For the third book in that, he sent me Solomon Kane. The third book is The Conquering Sword of Conan. And he did not send me that one. And I wrote to him very politely and said, well, I want that one. I want all three books. I don't want just two. And I don't want Solomon Kane. I'll reread him. For Randy's sake, I'll reread him. But I don't want him. I want that third book. And he said, sorry, these are just doubles, and I don't have a double of that one. And I wrote back to him slightly less courteous and said, well, I didn't say it had to be a double. You could reach into your own collection and get me a volume, the one you have, and send it to me. And he sent me a laughing, humoring response that indicated to me that he was not going to do that. And I think my petulant pestering is what caused him to get me a volume. I'm hoping that he found this cheap online. But there's also a note. A note that tells me that my petulant pestering may not have been thoroughly embraced. So, thank you. Thank you. I now have this volume. Oh, God. As I say in practically every video now, I don't know why the rest of you put up with me. This is a lovely volume. It's a lovely volume. It's got, who does the artwork on this thing? Gregory Manchus, who has been in the Spectrum, those oversized paperback Spectrum Best Fantasy Art of the Year collections. He's been in many of those volumes. And he's terrific. Very different from Gary Gianni, and he is all throughout this book. So you get spot illustrations all throughout the book, sometimes half-page illustrations, and also full illustrations, full-page illustrations, all throughout these books. They really are incredible. These are really volumes to have. And now I have all three. I feel a little bad about that. But anyway, oh God. I'll send him a placating email. But there you go. There's the mail for Monday to start off with some mail. More is coming later today. But I don't know how much attention I'll be able to give it because I'm buried in work. Who knew? Who thought such a thing? But here it is. And I am too dyed-in-the-wool a freelancer to ever say no. The rule of freelancing is you never say no. Never. And I don't want to do that. I don't now, at the ripe old age of 28, I don't want to start doing that. Of course, if you all were paid subscribers to Steve Reads, then I could easily do it. I could do it tra-la-la. I could do it with an easy heart. In the last 2 or 3 days, I don't know who mentioned my blog. Steve Reads is on Substack now. Forever and ever, it existed out in the wild, and then it went into abeyance for a decade, and then David Murphy convinced me to put it on Substack and revive it, and that's been enormous fun, just fantastic fun. I love it. I love the new Steve Reads, and it's paid. It's $5 a month, and if you are a free subscriber to Steve Reads, you get, I think, a paragraph from each new thing that I write, and then there's that. I'm sure you know how subscription sites work. After that, it's all grayed out, and you have to pay to see it. And in the last few days, I've had dozens of new free subscribers to Steve Reads. Amazing feeling, just an amazing feeling. I'm very grateful for that, but I've been wondering why. Why would you do that? You're not getting much for being a free subscriber. I'm not sure why. I guess the best idea I've been able to come up with is that it's a gesture of support for me, and I very much appreciate that. But boy, oh boy, I couldn't help but think, I don't usually think this, but I couldn't help but think that if even half of those free subscribers, new subscribers, were paid, what a difference that would make. Maybe I could start to turn down some freelance work. Maybe that would be true. Although, you never know. I've said many times on this channel that plenty of people who go on to make huge money, they have a best-selling book, they still don't turn down the work. It becomes such a reflex. It's a reflex ground in on you when you're first starting. It was ground in on me a million years ago when I was first starting. You don't turn down work. No matter what, even if it pays you a pittance, even if you think it's going to be years before you see that pittance, you still don't turn it down. So maybe I wouldn't anyway, but still, consider subscribing to Steve Reads. I promise you, there is already on Steve Reads enough reading material to be worth your $5 a month, and there will be a steady stream of new stuff. I am writing steady stuff all the time for Steve Reads. Just ask somebody who subscribes. I believe they're getting their money's worth. But anyway, how did I get on that subject? Oh, right, this work. All this work that I've got to do. So I don't, even if there is more mail today, I don't know that I'll do another mail haul. And I don't think I can swing a live stream. The shock of it is still fresh in my mind from Monday. Maybe once the shock settles down and I figure out how to readapt my world to this new work, live streams can resume. So be looking for those. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I'll be back. Thank you.